Morning everyone, it's Martin from Derraco UK. Hopefully this will be the first in a series of videos, slightly longer than just the introductory videos that I've done previously in relation to the products that are made by Derraco. I am the UK importer, so hopefully these should be all available to UK shooters, but they can be ordered internationally as well, particularly big in the States. Derraco, if you're not aware, Australian-based engineering firm making lots of reloading equipment available to shooters for reloading their own ammunition. Hopefully this video will be going on YouTube, so I'm going to do a caveat that I know Pete from the Impact Pro Shoot always gives. So YouTube guy, we're not making any ammunition today. This is just a crash course in reloading. What I'd like to talk to you today about is the competition shell holders available from Derraco, which you can see on the bench over here. I'll be perfectly honest, when I first heard about these, I didn't quite understand them. But now I've got my head around it, I can totally see why these are a great idea to add to your reloading process. One of the caveats I'll give in relation to that though is, if you are happy with your reloading process, then I'm not going to suggest you change it. These are just tools that might help you make more consistent ammunition, and obviously that is the aim of the game when it comes to shooting. The best we can do is make the best ammunition we can, then it's going to be down to the rifle system and the shooter. However, this is just one tool amongst many. So the composition shell holders are available in 223, 308, 300 Win Mag, 762x39 and 338 lap mag. These are all available on the website. We've got them all in stock in the UK. Get online and get them ordered. Give them a try. I know there are other companies that make them. They are a surprising amount of money, and you will find that the Derraco stuff is not only engineered every bit as good, but is substantially cheaper. I've not been through any test runs in relation to doing any of this, so fingers crossed this video isn't an absolute catastrophe, because I'm no good at video editing, and this is just going to be one consistent video throughout. So what are the competition shell holders? Right, well, we're going to be doing 223 today as a bit of an introduction. The competition shell holders come as a pack of 6. There we go. I'm going to line them up. Basically, there'll be one shell holder which is your 0. So it's all to do with the change of the head stamp at the very top. What we're talking about is in relation to the thickness of this material. It's not very good with when I've got gloves on, sorry, but from the bottom of this big chunk to the top of this big chunk, that's what's going to be getting thicker, and you'll see why shortly. Now they are all engraved. I'll try and pick one that's see if this picks up on the camera. So you can see there 223, and then underneath 0.004. So that's your 4,000th increment. 6. Can't see it, sorry, the light in here is really bad. 8, 2, 0, 10. Okay, there we go. Should have done that before I got the camera rolling, really, shouldn't I? But there we go. I'll put these out where we can see them. So, no, you still can't see them in the video, can you? There we go. Just alter that slightly for you. So, we have a 0 shell holder. So this is effectively what you're just going to call standard. That should be pretty much what most people will be using now. And then all that's going to happen as we go along the line is that, as I said before, it's this thickness that's going to be getting bigger and bigger. I'll try and show you on a set of calipers I've got. Now these have been measured by pin gauges already at the factory, so I'm not probably going to do. Let's get a different caliper. Okay, so these have been measured at the factory, so I'm probably not going to do an awful lot of justice, but what we're measuring is this part here. Okay, so what I'll do, if I zero that, that is effectively your zero block, then it's this part here, 0.002, that should be getting fatter and fatter. As I said, unfortunately these are just a cheap set of calipers I've got, 0.004, and so on and so forth, right the way up in theory to the top one, which will be, there we go, 0.010. So it's this part here that's getting thicker, and you'll see why shortly. If it's just pan back to the press, what most of your die instructions will tell you to do is screw your die all the way into your press until it comes into contact with the shell holder, which if it's not your first day of reloading, will look something like this. So I'm quite lucky. This press is a mech Marksman, and I absolutely love it. The hard stop in it, as you can tell, is a really good, solid, hard stop. However, we're going to sort of ignore that fact for the time being. So what your instructions are going to tell you to do is to raise the ram to its highest position, and then screw your die all the way down until it comes into contact with the shell holder. Okay, which is there. That's where it comes into contact. Now, as I said, this has got a really hard stop, so I'm going to just alter this ever so slightly so you can see exactly what's going to happen. If I just raise mine ever so slightly and then screw it down even further, you can see that the die is resting on that press. Okay, so screwing it down, that is not at the bottom of its stroke. However, what has happened is that you've got, I'll just borrow the camera for a second. Sorry if this is too jerky. What you have now got though is zero air gap between the shell holder and the die. So it doesn't matter, and the reason that's important is it now no longer matters how much force I put onto the handle. No matter how much I put down there, you've got metal to metal contact, so you can't crush it anymore. I don't know if that makes sense. Those of you who've been reloading for a while, what you'll inevitably have done is found that it's sized your brass too much. They say oversize, I find that an odd word, but it's sized the brass too much, i.e. it's crushed the shoulder back much further than you want. And when you fire it, you're going to size it back to your chamber, and you're overworking your brass. So what you've inevitably done is backed the die out to give you that 1 to 2,000th of shoulder bump that we're all ideally looking for. The problem that occurs there is that you then have an air gap on your die, on your press, between the bottom of the die and the top of the shell holder. That means, unless you're using a really high quality press, and there are many, this wasn't overly expensive, this has got a really good solid stop as I showed you before. However, what you're effectively doing is you've still got the ability to over crush on that handle, and by putting extra force through your press, you could induce sizing errors. The idea between these competition shell holders is that there is never an air gap between the bottom of your die and the top of your shell holder. So it doesn't matter how much you push on this shell holder, the handle, the shell holder and the die can't come together anymore, because you've still got those two solid forces, and it doesn't matter. Effectively, you could either screw your die further down, or you can have it, as I said, at the top of your stroke, but it doesn't really matter, because as I'm sort of trying to demonstrate, those two things can't come together anymore. Doesn't matter how much I push my hands together, I can't change that. That's the same principle that goes with the PCPS priming system. When you've got the solid anvil, I just happen to have one here, when you've got this solid anvil that comes up against the bottom of the micrometer on the PCPS, it doesn't matter how much force you put onto it, because you've still got two metal hard surfaces coming together. Now, enough talking. So we've demonstrated that there is, and I can screw it down even further. If I really wanted to, just to reduce the stroke, I could screw it down basically as far as the die will let me, and I don't need to go down as far with the handle. I'm just going to tighten up the lock ring just for the time being. Obviously this isn't the be all and end all. What you can see here, I've got 20 pieces. We might not use them all today, but we'll see how we get on. 20 pieces. This is 3 times fired Lapua 223 brass. It's been deprimed and cleaned and then annealed. So in my reloading process, the next step would be to size it. That's what we're going to do today. So using my Derraco comparator kit, I've got my 330, sorry I told you the lighting's not very good, 330 insert into my calipers, zeroed the caliper, and if I put a piece in there today, I get 1461, but can you see that? Sorry. 1461. If I zero, no, that's turning it off. If I zero it, because what we're looking for is how much are the shoulders being set back. So with the zero shell holder in, so that's what most of you are normally doing. This, if you were to follow the instructions in any of your die cases, and you just used a standard shell holder, which is effectively what this is the zero shell holder, then this is how much crush you're going to get. So I can't go down any further. I've got hard surface to hard surface contact. I should have mentioned before, you might or might not have been able to see, I'm not using the expander ball. I use mandrels for setting the inside neck diameter, but for today's purposes that doesn't really matter anything. And when I've sized that, that's now set the shoulder back. Sorry, can you see that? 5.5 thousandths, 6 thousandths. That is substantially more than we want. I'll do that again just to make sure it wasn't a one-off. Spin that in there. Can you see that on there? So 6 thousandths. I always ignore the half. I don't think these calipers are quite accurate enough to give me that, but 6 thousandths of shoulder bump, that's what we're getting from that. That's far too much for what most people will want. Will it work? Yeah, it absolutely will work, but effectively we've crushed the case down by 6 thousandths and it's going to grow again. So we're overworking our brass. Most people will want 1 or 2 thousandths of setback. So if we're doing it by 6 and we want 2, we need to increase that gap on our shell holder by 4 thousandths. Let's see if this works. So here is how, can we see that on the camera? 4 thousandths. I don't know if you can see that because it's really, really tiny engraving. There's our 4 thousandth insert. So what that's going to do is it's going to mean that that hard stop is now 4 thousandths thicker at the bottom, so that the bottom of the case will still be in the same position. However, it's going to stop the die coming down by 4 thousandths. In theory, you have to always account for spring back. So let's see if this is going to work on camera. There's our hard stop. Doesn't matter how much extra I put onto that. How much has that sized it by? Oh, beautiful. As if by magic. Can you see that? 2 thousandths. I don't think I could have predicted that any better. Let's do that again just to make sure it wasn't a fluke. So you see, it doesn't matter how much I put on this. I've got metal to metal contact, so I can't overdo it. He says. Let's see if this pans out exactly as I've just been talking. Oh, 2 thousandths. Now let's take this to an extra step then and say that we want 0 shoulder setback. Well, we need to get that distance another 2 thousandths. So we're going to go to our 6 thousandth increment. Can We see that 6,000. Let's stick that in there. I don't think I'm going to need all 20 cases, am I, at this rate? Size that. Metal to metal contact. No guessing or estimating on how much pressure am I putting on. Moment of truth. Spin it in the die. Now it's showing minus a half a thousandth. I said I'm going to ignore that half thousandth because these calipers aren't accurate enough, but we'll do it one more time just to double check. So if you didn't want any shoulder setback and you just wanted to size the body and the neck, but without crushing your case, 0. It's entirely up to you. I'm told that for the American gas-powered guns, you might want extra headspace just to make sure that the chamber. I've heard of them wanting 3 thousandths. Can't do odd numbers, I'm afraid, with these particular ones. But again, we could just swap it back out to the I forget where we went with that. Was it the 4,000th one that we used? There we go, there's minus 2. I hope that sort of makes sense, really. What these competition shell holders effectively allow you to do is, it's not quite so much taking the guesswork out of your resizing, it's just another way of being able to eliminate the human error. So depending on how much force we put through the press, if your current sizing process means that you've screwed your die down and now have an air gap between it and the shell holder, you have the ability to induce variations of sizing by how hard you're pulling on this handle. The competition shell holders eliminate that by filling that air gap with extra material in the case itself. That was quite a short overview, but hopefully that makes sense to people. I said I'm not a YouTuber. I'd like to think I can make fairly decent reloads, but I'm not perfect by any means. If you think I have done it wrong or you would do it differently, let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, get yourself a set ordered, give it a try. If you aren't completely satisfied, let me know and send them back again. It's fine. I think these are a brilliant kit. I'm going to be incorporating them into my reloading process, but everybody's different. Maybe these aren't for you. If they are, get them ordered. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, and other than that, stay safe and shoot straight.